So now this output is what we want to render. So we'll go back to the Matcher node and we'll say force objects output, not the source one. Let's keep it on here. Cool. And there you go. So again, even if this is off, this force will literally force render it. So you don't have to remember to keep this on or off or anything like that. So let's just go to a frame like this and say Matcher 1. So this is going to trigger this Matcher node to run. It's going to force object that one. And yeah, I wish my computer was faster. There it goes, slowly but surely. So this is because we're rendering in the HQ settings on right now. So this is a perfect example of, it's kind of like, it's taking forever. So I'm going to escape this, kill it. Let's always have it render an LQ right now because we want faster feedback on our work. So here we go. Look how much faster that is now. And we could really even decimate this further, but this is going pretty good. You can see how much grainier it is now. So there is one of the frames, apparently frame 27, of our simulation. So the very last thing that I want to do is, well, no, I lied. There's two things I want to do. One is, let's set up a material real quick. You could go to the little fun gallery, the material, where are you? Material palette. Let's go grab the billowy smoke and, oh, here it is actually. Let's go back to the parameter view. So billowy smoke, these are basically just materials that are set up for you already that have some common things. So it's actually built out here in the Vex shader builder land, and we'll definitely get into that later down the pipe. But for now, we can just rely on billowy smoke. That works pretty well. So this is going to look for that density field, remember. And if we middle click, we'll see that we have a volume density. That's what it's going to look for. And it's just going to multiply the values times 1 and the shadows times 1, and everything will basically look the same. But now we can tweak these post-sim. We don't have to add more density into the simulation in order to render it more dense. So let's use like an earlier frame. And I'm also going to say LQ mode. I want to update my Matcher op is angry because I canceled the render, not for anything else. So let's have the pixel samples actually be 2. Oops. For our render, and we'll go back to main now. So this is again pointing to LQ mode. So even though it says 3 here, when it renders, it's going to actually use these 2s. So we assigned the material, billowy smoke, to our object here, and now that we've proven that it will force render, I'm just going to turn it back on. Let's render it, see what we get, and now if we decide like, oh hey, this is fine, but hey, I think that maybe this could benefit from a lot more density. So I could just say like, boom, 10 times as much. Cancel this, render, and now the materials interpretation of the underlying simulation data will say that, well, I know the density is only 1 here, but hey, let's just multiply that by 10. And you can see immediately how much denser it is. It's kind of like when we were playing with the volume mix before on the source side, except now we're not resimulating anything. We're just, playing with these numbers. Actually, instead of changing that, I'm going to change the shadow density. This will make the darker areas, of course, when it does the lighting calculations, it'll say, don't actually change the density of it, but treat the shadow rays as denser. And again, that's the kind of advanced stuff we'll get into later. But cool. You can see basically how we can play with it in the material in a quick way. And that's what this production stuff's all about. We're trying to set things up to iterate quickly. And on that final note, the way that nodes connect here in the output area is pretty cool. What this does is this will run these nodes as a dependency. So this is, if I say I want to render the image, it will render the image, but first it's going to wait for this, which is important. So if I'm working on something or other and I say, okay, well, I need to change the sim in some way. Like I need to have the gas turbulence start at like, I don't know, now I want it to start at 25. And now I want to go off and do something else. I can have this mantra node say, by clicking on this purple thing here, if I can get it, there it is. I could say, okay, do this node by node. And what's going to happen is it's going to run the simulation here, cache it to disk, and then the mantra ROP is going to run. And because of the way we have it set up, it'll all just fall together. It'll run the sim, and then the render will read it back from this. So all we need to do is click node by node and click render, and you'll see it's caching everything out, and then it's rendering it. And that could save you a whole lot of time if you want to go home from work for the day and you don't want to wait for a cache and then feel like, okay, now the cache is done, now I'm going to render it. You just can be confident that this will cache it and then it will render it. I mean, this is also good even, on in your own work, on your own computer. Same thing, especially in a place where you only have, the capacity to do one thing at a time. Go to sleep, let it cache out, and then wake up in the morning with the cache done and your renders done.